good, healthy lifespan, if you aspire to live beyond 100 in good health, then join the longevity experiment. As I said, it's going to be free, and you can send an email to longevity@choprafoundation.org, and the experiment will start on January 1. So you'll get an email back before or around January 1. If you want to engage in extended webinars on longevity, there will be a small fee, nothing significant, just letting you know. But overall, the whole program is going to be offered free. We are also going to be doing scientific studies on longevity. So, why this experiment? Well, first of all, the fastest growing segment of the American population right now is over 90 and uh, close to over 100 years of age. Longest rate of growth, not the largest demographic, longest rate of growth. The age, the age is right now over 90. So as we look at the future, many people are thinking of older people being a burden on society, getting Alzheimer's and other chronic illnesses. And I have always maintained that that is not necessary. We can have the biology of youth and the wisdom of experience at the same time. And if we do that, then as people get older, they are going to be the real influencers. This has happened in the past. A lot of people in their older ages have contributed to society, from George Bernard Shaw to Picasso to many of the quantum pioneers and so on. Today, I wanted to introduce just three ideas, and that is the perception of time, the perception of body, and the perception of aging. And I'll start from the last factor, perception of aging. So when I was training as an internist in Boston at that time in the 1970s, there was a physician called Dr. Alexander Leaf at Harvard, chief of medicine at Mass General Hospital, and he traveled the world to see those areas where people lived long lives, beyond 100, etc., and good health. And he identified these areas in the world. Some of the people in the Hindu Kush Mountains in Afghanistan, and the Tarahumara Indians in Mexico, older people in Georgia, Russia, Georgia, then Soviet Union. And what he found in these areas is that society had a different perception of aging. In fact, he had an issue sometimes with determining the real age of people, because aging in these populations was considered glamorous. So people would actually exaggerate their ages. And so he had to be very careful to find out what the real age is. And many times there were no birth certificates or records. But the bottom line was that if society perceives aging as growing wiser, more responsible, more healthy, and that collective perception influenced the perception of the individuals who were then living up to these expectations, because that was what society's norm was. Later, of course, we have the emergence of what are called blue zones, places in the Mediterranean islands, Greek islands, and many other places where healthy aging is a norm. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. The collective perception of aging influences the individual's experience of aging. The second thing I wanted to talk about today is the experience of time. So there's an ancient aphorism in the wisdom traditions that I come from, Vedanta, which says that People don't grow old. When they stop growing, they become old. But also that aging is the metabolism of time. There's a phrase from Yoga Vasishtha that we are time's food. If you want to know um, how you have aged, look at your past. And if you want to know the future, look at the present moment experience, because we metabolize every experience that comes our way: eating, breathing, digestion, metabolism, elimination, sensory experience, thoughts, feelings, emotions. This is our daily experience of life, and it's all metabolized into what we call our biological response, the experience of the body. But one of those factors only that I want to discuss today, as we embark on the longevity experiment, there will be many more, is how we experience time. So everybody has heard the expression, I'm running out of time. I have many deadlines and I'm running out of time. Now, if you have that internal dialogue and that experience, then you will run out of time because your biological clock speeds up when you think you have no time. Your platelets get jittery, adrenaline goes up, cortisol goes up, immune system is compromised, and everything speeds up, and then you run out of time. We call that death. So, how do we change our experience of time? Well, once again, metaphorically speaking, we also say when people are in love, they don't experience time. Or when you have an experience of wonder and beauty, you escape time. The beauty of the mountain was breathtaking, time stood still. Common expression, similar expressions are there. So when we engage in something where the seer and the scenery become one, where the observer and the observed become one, where the lover and the beloved become one, then there is no time for that period. You don't experience time. And when you don't experience time, then of course your biological clock also slows down. And so, what are the ways we can go beyond this experience that we call time? We're not talking about Greenwich Mean Time, it's our experience of time. What are the various ways that we can escape this experience called time? For that, we need a more deeper understanding of the experience of time, which is the continuity of memory that uses our ego as our internal reference point. So, the, to the extent we can escape our identification with the ego as the dominant identity, um, of course, we all have an ego, we all have personality that makes us unique. But if it overshadows our spirit or soul, which is timeless, then time takes over. Time is the consumer and we are its food. That's the Yoga Vasishtha, a great text from the wisdom traditions of the East. So, a lot of what we'll be teaching as longevity practices will be on the perception of time and the various methods of transcending time or slowing the experience through mindful moments, which is a good topic every week that we engage in anyway. So that's the second thing. The first thing was social expectations and society's expectations of how we can grow old and have the biology of youth at the same time. Second thing, time. But third thing, experience of the body. Are you right now experiencing a joyful, energetic body? And on a scale of 1 to 10, intuitively, if you say, yes, my joyful, energetic body is 8, 9, or 10, then you're thriving. If it is 6 or 7, you're struggling in some area, maybe not getting sleep, maybe too much stress, no mind body coordination, lack of exercise, um, uh, imbalanced biological rhythms, emotional distress, and many other factors, including food and sympathetic overdrive and lack of vagal stimulation. So, we'll be giving you longevity practices on all of that, but also on how do we perceive and experience our body. If you can experience a joyful, energetic body, love and compassion in the heart, a clear, reflective, alert mind, and ultimately lightness of being, following your bliss, then your experience of your body will also change in the direction of self regulation and homeostasis. And so these are amazing ways for all of us to have the next adventure. And the next adventure is really what I'm calling uh, meta human adventures in the metaverse. And this is going to be one component of that. And then as we go deeper, we'll discuss 10, 12 other methods to not only slow down the aging process, but also stop it and even reverse it for a time at the genetic level. What happens to telomerase, the enzyme that controls the length of telomeres? What happens to inflammation in the body? What happens to um, ho- what happens to our body when sympathetic overdrive is overshadowed by vagal stimulation? The vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve in our body, which influences everything from mood to our facial expressions, to the tone of voice, to our heart rate variability, to the activity of our microbiome, on and on. So I'm just giving you a glimpse of what to expect as we embark on the longevity experiment, particularly as it pertains uh, to how we can slow down, stop, and for a time reverse the arrow of time. I am currently speaking with fellow endocrinologists and experts in metabolism, and also to quantum biologists. And at the most fundamental level, our body, which we experience as sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts, at the most fundamental level, our body is a product of what we might call not only gene expression, but epigenetic modulation, and ultimately all experience occurs in consciousness. So if we can master the navigation of pure consciousness, which is a field of infinite possibilities, infinite correlation, infinite creativity, infinite self-regulation, and ultimately evolution, then evolution is the answer. The evolution of consciousness is the answer to the reversal of the arrow of time. Entropy and evolution are opposites. I will stop here. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to now answer them and invite you to answer your questions. And then maybe we can do a very short little practice that shows you how we can cross over from time to timeless being. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Okay, so I think Ferouz Elbaz has a question. Go ahead, Ferouz.
Hi, hi, Deepak. Thank you for this topic today because it's actually been on my mind a lot lately. My parents are in their mid 80s, and COVID has really increased or sped up their aging process. Before COVID, they would travel overseas once a month. They were constantly on the move, very active, doing things. And then this past year and a half or so, the lack of movement has just really been not helpful to their mental and physical state. So I wonder, given that they probably aren't going to revert back to moving as much as they did before, what are some ways where they can, you know, sort of help their mental state and sort of get them to feel uh, emotionally in a better place about aging and living their life.
So, Feroz, first of all, there's a lot of data right now that shows that people who get really sick have low grade anxiety, low grade depression, and low grade inflammation. And if you tackle those three things, first through social engagement, even social engagement through FaceTime or just on the phone, giving them attention, deep listening, affection, deep love, appreciation, gratitude for their presence, and acceptance, total acceptance, you will start a process. But then please look up something called the polyvagal theory. You can go on the internet and look it up, Google it. There are many ways to stimulate the vagus nerve, including singing, chanting, breathing exercises, of course, dancing, yoga, mind body coordination. And it's never too late to start even simple things like that, sitting yoga, but sitting mind body exercises. We're going to be introducing breathing techniques, and I would actually welcome them to the longevity experiment. We will be giving these longevity practices every week, five of them from experts, including myself, and then we'll be doing webinars on these topics. So invite them, and you should join too. It's never, younger people, of course, have better possibilities, but it's never too late to introduce a few longevity practices that are simple and that can be adopted even in their 80s. So I hope that
That's
helps.
great. Thank you so much.
Lina, I'm going to accept Lina. You're on. So what's your question? Hello, Lina. You had a question?
Elena has to unmute.
Okay. So she has to unmute. Lina, please unmute. Lina. Lina, if you unmute, I will be able to hear your question. Otherwise, if anyone else has a question, please go ahead. Hello, Lina. Does anyone else have a question? Yes, Isidro, you're on. Please let me know what your question is.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. My question is similar to the previous question about aging parents. I lost my father about a year and a half ago, and my mom is you could see they were together for like 53 years, and which is a long time, and I could just tell that there is a I don't know if she's just waiting to just go away, or I know that sounds insensitive. My question, I find that today we're treating our aging population like their children. We're giving them phones. We're giving them these devices just to pass time. What advice would you give us? I guess I'm going to be nearing my 50s soon, and I want to have a better relationship with my aging mother, but I find that it's become increasingly difficult to manage some of the things that her behaviors. And so, as children age and their parents become the children, so to speak, I don't. I'm sure I'm not explaining it correctly, but it just seems like it's too easy to give these devices to them. And what are some things that we can do as children to help them in that process?
The most important thing that's been studied is social engagement and the four A's that I mentioned: attention, deep listening, affection, deep caring, appreciation, deep gratitude, and acceptance of this situation as it is right now. That is the most important. Do you have children? Do they have grandchildren?
Yes, they do. Well, my mother does, and we had our children sort of at a younger age and late teens, early 20s. So they're now in like adulthood where they've moved on. And so the younger grandchildren have yet, they're already older, I guess.
Yeah, so Isidro, this is the cycle of life. Now, in this culture, Alzheimer's is much more common than in cultures where families are much closer, live close to each other, support each other, where actually family is the most important thing. The expression of aging is different. And that's why I'm launching the longevity experiment, even for people who are having challenges with dementia and Alzheimer's. There are many things we can do uh, today, including, there are soon going to be what is called digital therapeutics, which is using ultrasonics and other devices to actually stimulate the brain. Also, when we put people on a diet that has maximum diversity of plant based foods, their microbiome changes. Now, some of this may or may not be applicable, and that's why we are launching the longevity experiment to see what is selectively applicable in situations like your parents. So I hope that helps a little bit. And I would invite you to be part of this experiment because you can also expand your awareness of all the possibilities. Okay?
Yes, I appreciate that. I just, a lot of us we know the answers, but it's just extremely helpful, and it's a blessing that you're on here. So
No, no, we
thank
can
you
create
so
an
much.
ecosystem of support, a support system which we can all participate in. So your question leads to many ideas of how we can um, pursue these difficulties collectively as a society and as a culture. I'm going to take Lina now. I think she's waiting to be accepted. Hi, Lina. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. What's your question?
Thank you, Dr. Deepak Chopra. I have been always really appreciating what you have taught. Have been following you for all these years. I have actually received the confirmation that I am in the database for this longevity experiment program. And my question is, how do I know uh, when do I get accepted?
You are accepted. If you're in the database, you're accepted, and you will hear from us by January 1. So just stay tuned, okay?
I see. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is going to be my last answer now, Adam Norrens, because I have to get to another appointment. But once again, before I do that, I want to thank everyone for being on this platform,
I think
Fireside. And
Will
so,
was next.
Adam Norrens. Adam, you're on. Adam Norrens. Hello, Adam. You have to unmute yourself. And Adam, what's your question? Uh, Adam is muted, I think. And
Can you hear me now?
oh, I can hear you now. What's your question, Adam?
Terrific. Thank you, Dr. Chopra. I really appreciate this. It's an honor for me. My question is, um, I here, at least within the United States, and you touched a bit on it. The reverence for our elderly, and the and
I think I lost Adam, but he used the word reverence, and I think that's a very important word. Reverence for not only the elderly, but reverence for existence, reverence for life. And once we have that restored, I can assure you our biological response to that feeling of the sacred in us. So I thank you once again, and I'll be seeing you again in a week. And stay tuned and Do check out longevity at choprafoundation.org. Have a wonderful day and God bless.